Hello, welcome back to Diary of a Creator. If this is your first time here, welcome. I am Victoria, the soul-led career coach, and this is a channel for ambitious, freedom-seeking souls who refuse to settle for ordinary. So if you're feeling stuck in a life or a career that no longer fits, you're starting to question your path and craving something more freedom, fulfillment, alignment, then you are in the right place. So if my content resonates with you, I would love it if you could like, share, and subscribe. It just helps me to grow and reach more souls. Okay, so today I'm speaking to my second guest in the Diary of a Creator series, Michele. Hi, Michele. Very good to have you on. So I just want to introduce Michele to everyone. So Michele has spent years in community service in government programs. She was already helping others through their struggle, but quietly navigating her own healing journey, coming through childhood adversity and emotional neglect. And in 2020 was her spiritual awakening year where everything changed. And what once made sense started to fall away, as it did for many of us. And what remained was very clear. Her soul work was to help women heal at the root. So now Michele works as a rapid transformational therapist and a clinical hypnotherapist, guiding women through anxiety, self-sabotage, trauma, and spiritual awakening, taking them back to self-love and confidence and blending science, spirituality, and lived wisdom. It's great to have you on. I'm looking forward to diving into your journey of how you've got to where you are. So, going back into when you worked into government and your pre 2020 awakening. So, just tell me, what was life like back then? Like, how was it feeling working in government pre 2020?
So it was good for me because I was still helping people. I was working a program helping young parents with helping them with the struggles and to prepare them to return to the workforce once their youngest child turned 7. It was good, but I felt quite limited and I didn't feel I was helping them enough because government is very bureaucratic and you have systems to follow. So I didn't feel there was times when I felt very frustrated because I would see clients and I would want to do more for them, but I was very limited in what I could do.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about going to the root. Is it fair to say that the level that you could work with people is more of that
It was
surface?
exactly, Victoria. It was very surface level. So a lot of people with generational trauma, complex trauma, and I could see that I could help them more with the nervous system regulation, feel more present, feel more balanced in themselves. But yeah, I could just do a little bit because I was asked to focus more on the career path, on getting these people ready for the workforce.
Yeah. What were your triggers or turning points or moments of realization that you knew you weren't meant to be there and it was time to start changing?
So obviously 2020, it was a very challenging year for all of us. I was still working. I worked until mid of 2020. And that's when I decided to start the rapid transformational course because I wanted to be a hypnotherapist. And I remember thinking about just leaving my job. And I talked to my partner, and he said, "Yes, you can do it. You can leave your job. We'll support you until you finish the rapid transformational course." So I remember giving the resignation letter, and I felt so good. And that's what I knew. It was like my body felt so light, and I was ready to step into my soul purpose. I'm not gonna say it was easy because there's a part of me that felt like, oh my God, if things don't work out, I'm gonna start this soul-led career. But what about if things don't go right?
Yeah.
And then I had to talk to myself into it and just say to myself, it's okay. If things don't go the way you expect, then you can always go back to where you're working before.
Yeah, because that comes up for everyone. What are some ways that you managed the fear?
I managed the fee. Obviously, I was very lucky because I had someone that was supporting me. And I understand that not many people have that. But the fee is always there. It was to acknowledge the fee and not just pretend, oh, it's not there, everything's going to be okay, and just bypass the fee. I think the way I dealt with the fee was to acknowledge and to almost like pat and say, it's okay, I'm here now, I'm the driver. And that
Mm.
was 2020 as well when I did plant medicine, I did ayahuasca. So I had the experience with the fee, and that taught me as well how to deal with the fee when I
Mm.
left my
Yeah,
job.
yeah. And so you were going through, or you've spoken going through your own healing journey even
Yes.
prior to that and moving in.
Yes.
Tell me through that journey, was it through that deeper inner work where your soul purpose became clear to you?
It became quite challenging and sometimes very unclear. And there were times when I felt very stuck because I was starting this healing journey. I had an awakening in, I think, 2000 and spiritual awakening 2021. And I felt very dysregulated. And I thought, oh, things are improving now. But I actually experienced the dark night of the soul. And that was very intense in all aspects of my life, including personal. But I persisted to continue on the journey, working on my healing because I knew I have to heal myself in order to fully embody this soul purpose. And
Mm.
it did later on, it came up on my business.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think it's a common theme and for me as well. Only my ego tried to rush into creating a business or getting into that almost too quick, but there really is a period of time where it's all about self-discovery and the
It
healing
is.
and the releasing of the layers to actually come back within.
Exactly, because when you have your own business, is your nervous system there. What I realized with my business is that I would have all this visualization of what I want my business to be, but I didn't have body capacity to be able to embody. When I started having more and more clients, I would freak out. I was like, how can I do this? It's not possible. And that's when I realized that instead of expanding, I was retracting because my body didn't have the capacity for that. And that was related to my past.
You can be on a healing journey, even working as a healer, and it's almost, you can't even fully understand just how much going into a soul path is working into
Exactly.
the fear itself, and it is gonna come up.
Yes. And your business, it's not separate from who you are.
No,
It's not separate. It is pretty much you, like in yourself.
which is the block because it's much easier to stand in front of people if you're hiding behind your knowledge or it's someone else's. But when you're putting yourself out there, which I think is why a lot
Exactly.
of people don't make it, they turn around
Yeah,
because it is quite confronting.
it is confronting, and you gotta see, you will see parts of yourself that you never seen before. And I feel that for that, you have to have a capacity in your body, or at least working towards it, building that capacity in your body so you can hold more.
Is it fair to say when someone is in the earlier stages where they're like, I know I'm not where I'm meant to be. I want more. I want to understand what I'm here for, my purpose. That it's more about the being before the doing.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what I learned that because you learn with Instagram, all these coaches saying the successful coaches, right? Talking about visualization and the art of manifestation. And there's so much talking about this that you can come to that person where you start creating and you forget to be. And that's when I almost had the burnout
Yeah.
stage where I was, oh no, I need to do, I need to do, I need to do. And I stopped being, and it was so tiring.
It's also us playing out the same, like it happens for me because I've come through quite a high performance corporate role where it's
Yeah,
just go.
yeah, yeah.
And I came into almost going that way, but getting feedback that it just wasn't working, which is interesting. But I think there's a lot to be said for Instagram and the coaches and all of this instant
Yes.
overnight
Oh,
success. It's just not really true at all.
no. And I almost got caught into it because
Yeah.
when you look at it online, the algorithm just keeps sending you these coaches, successful coaches, they're making so much money, and then you get caught. How come the ego part comes back and say, how come you're not doing that well? Oh, is that because you're not good enough? And then that's when I got triggered to do more. But yeah, I had a great learning from it.
Yeah. And those voices are within us all. Tell me how coming to understand or know your purpose or your path unraveled. Did you get an instant, this is what I'm here to do? Did it move a bit slower? Walk me through how it transpired for you.
My previous role with a government program, I was working as like a caseworker. So it was helping people. And I also studied counseling. So for me was I knew that my purpose was to help people. But I realized that I wanted to work with women that had a similar journey like me with trauma and emotional neglect. So I feel like finding my niche was very difficult because I was a bit lost on who my niche should be. But then when you really focus on your healing, you focus on yourself, these answers just come to you naturally. And then you just working from a heart-centered
Mm.
approach rather than the mind. So yeah, it just happened.
Yeah. So you went through the period where the ego almost takes over and you go into the comparison. You're like, oh, I should be
Yeah.
doing that. I need to be
Yes.
doing that. And then you're moving more into a heart led way. Is it fair to say that's more just going with the intuition?
Yeah, going with intuition and being very self-aware on what comes up and not trying to repress emotions or repress these, I would say, the dark shadows that comes up because it's very easily in this industry to use a spiritual bypassing to detach from a part of ourselves that everyone has and just dissociate.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is very important, especially people we that work with helping others in helping their soul with healing. We can have these roles like a spiritual healer. And then when you feel these, I say negative, but there's no negative emotions. You can always transform emotions, right? When you experience these dense emotions, just be mindful of it and not try to repress it.
And let's dive into that a little bit on how, because obviously you work a lot with the nervous system and the body. And I think even if someone's not necessarily going down a soul path, I think even anyone who's pushing out of a known boundary or a known system is going to come up against this. And I certainly
Yes.
know when I wasn't doing the work on myself, it's just like steering my ship and I'm not even aware. And that's what blocks a lot of people. So, walk me through how you work with the nervous system to expand it. You're basically expanding it to hold more
Yes,
fear, right?
exactly. You basically, when you learn your nervous system and you learn the different states that you are and what is your default state. A lot of us have a default state.
Yeah.
Just learning about yourself and using these somatic practices to return to the present, then you have more calm and you'll be able to integrate more answers, integrate more embodiment. It's not necessarily just for spirituality, but for well-being as well.
Yeah, it's definitely embodiment is quite key. And I feel we're going to have a bit of a tidy out, shall we say, of the industry of, I guess we're coming back into integrity energy, which is really
Yes.
what you're talking to, is being
Yeah,
in the energy that you're teaching.
exactly. It's coherence, it's congruence, it's being able, because when we're working with others, their survival brain will pick up on our energy. And it happens beyond the consciousness. So if you are not embodied, if you are not on your centered and present self, they will pick up on it. Clients will pick up, and somehow they may not resonate, or they won't have the healing they deserve. So I think taking care of ourselves, getting to know our nervous system, having learning practices to return to center, return to balance
Mm.
is a must in this industry.
Yeah. And so tell me where you're at now with your business.
So I had a lot, I almost had the burnout that I've
Mm.
said before.
Yeah.
At the moment with my business, I feel like I'm working on my nervous system, my limiting beliefs on money, because I just realized I have a lot of trauma money. I grew up with a very scarcity mindset.
Mm.
And when I start making more money in the past, my body would just shut down
Mm.
and freak out. And I'll be like, how can I do this? And I felt that there was a part of myself, also my ego, maybe just saying, oh, they're going to find out who you are. They're really going to find out who you are. Now is working with the ego, trying to silence and put it on a passenger seat and being able to embody that safety. And like you say before, being able to expand, to hold that capacity in my body.
Money's an interesting one because I've yet to meet anyone who hasn't come up against it. It's interesting because I never would have classed myself as having any form of money belief or limit because I was in the nest or the safety of corporate and moving up that way and expanding. But it's a system, and then you come out of the system, and then all of the things that have kept you trapped in that system all come up. It is a very crippling fear. It's right down at the root in the safety.
It is, yeah, it's down the root and the safety.
Mm.
And I feel like, especially with what we're experiencing with the world right now, with the
Yeah.
economics of the world, there's a lot of fear at
Mm.
the moment of people really worried about their finances. And if you're not grounded and not present in yourself, you pick up that fear, and sometimes it's not even yours.
Yeah.
It's like the collective fear around you that you just pick up, and then you think, oh, I also have fear, but sometimes it's not even yours. So staying just present and doing the daily practices to stay, return to your balance.
Yeah. I think everyone has to come up against it because money and time are the two biggest control tactics on this planet to keep people asleep and
Exactly.
not awake.
Exactly.
And when you move through a soul led journey, you're coming out of that and you are going to be hit with one, the amount of time distractions, but also the money. It has to come up because it's what
Exactly.
roots us into the system.
Is what roots us into the system because money itself is neutral.
Yeah.
Money is a neutral energy. And obviously, with the control, the money, with the system of control, money comes with the controlling sort of energy attached to it. But
Mm,
the money we make with the soul at purpose is neutral, and we put our energy into that,
yeah.
the energy we want to put into that.
So, how do you feel we break this control?
So, what I would like to say to the women that are starting, that are leaving their corporate career or any other jobs that they're doing and they wanted to work in a more soul-led purpose, I wanted to say that you don't need to have it all figured out. Start where you are. And your lived experience is not a weakness, it is your medicine. And that's what I realized with me because I had a lot of that thought of when I started, like how unhealed I was, or who do you think you are to help healing people? Have you looked yourself in the mirror and see how unhealed you are, where you came from? So don't believe in those ego trap conversations. It's just your ego because your experience, your journey is your best asset to help who you need to help. And you stay connected to your body. Your body hold all the answers. And more you work with your body, your mind will become more clear.
Yeah. I think as well, you don't need to be like 100 steps in front of people to help them. You just need to be a couple. Because I even think like being too many steps ahead actually makes it more difficult because I don't know about you, but like I forget where I was 4 or 5 years ago. You only need to be just a few steps ahead, which even thinking of the corporate dynamic, that's all that your boss is anyway, right? And you're
Yeah,
listening to
exactly.
them.
Yeah. So you just need to remember to tell your ego this when your ego freaks out or when the expectations don't go as wanted. So just pay attention to that because you will question yourself. You will question your knowledge or how huge you are. So yeah, just be mindful of that.
And what are some strategies that you use in the moment when you know that your ego has come up to work through that, to keep going,
Mhm.
basically?
Yeah. So I feel when I know my ego is coming up, I feel like an instant activation
Mm,
or an instant trigger in the body. And in the past, I would react. And by me reacting, I would sometimes say something and then I would regret later or do something that I would regret later. I would feel the activation and then my mind will go straight to criticizing, judging, or having those negative self-talk, like you're not good enough or where you are, and then I would just withdraw.
mm,
So for me, the strategy that I use today is to feel the activation, to find it in my body,
mm.
and normally is around here
Yeah,
within the chakras, within the lower chakras or upper chakras. Normally is lower chakras.
yeah.
So I'll feel where the activation is. I'll put my hand into it and I'll just breathe. I'll just do 3 gentle breaths and be kind to myself and just think, what would you like me to do? Do you
Mm,
want me to say something or do you want me to reflect on this and just have time to reflect on this? And this gives me time. And I always feel like I stopped reacting. I started responding from a more centered, more present self.
yeah,
And it's beautiful because people around me, they notice as well.
yeah.
Because if they throw something to trigger me, but I don't catch it. I say, look, this is yours, it's not mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the work. So we see the ego has a way of keeping us where we are and distracting us from where we want to go. Does it help to anchor into where you want to go? And to double barrel that, where do you see your path going in the future? Where's your vision or your focuses?
To your first question, I think it does help you to ground yourself and stop reacting because I feel like today's problems, the world's problems today is people reacting to each other. There's a lot of trigger. And when you look at it, it's a lot of our inner child reacting. When we are triggered, it's just your inner child reacting whether it's feeling hurt or unheard or unsafe. So I feel when you give yourself that time, you let your inner child know that it's okay, I'm here, I'm the adult self, and now I will choose to respond accordingly in a more present way.
Mhm.
So to your second question, so I have created a inner child program is a 6 weeks inner child program to work with a group of women to heal their inner child, learn how to regulate their nervous systems with nervous system practices and rapid transformational therapy. So in this program, once they heal they feel more present with the nervous system, then I do a rapid transformational session where they can find the limiting beliefs from their past. And then we rewire those limiting beliefs. But first, the body needs to feel safe. So I'm starting with this program now. I want to help as many women I can with this program.
And you feel like you've found your purpose for the here and now.
For the here and now, yes. I think we're all work in progress. Maybe next year I'll be doing something different. I don't know. But this is the year for me to really help these women return to themselves in a loving, centered space for their daughters or their grandchildren and being more the healed version of themselves.
Yeah. And do you have any words of encouragement or any thoughts on women who are wanting to come out of corporate and start following a soul-led either career path in life?
Don't be scared to find out who you are.
That's a good one.
I feel that do the shadow work,
Mm.
work on your childhood stuff. I think it's really important. And just do it. Don't think too much because the ego will come up with fears,
Mhm.
questions. Put the ego on the passenger seat and be the driver. That's my advice.
Yeah, that is a good one. And I think the ego will always be there.
Always be there. Don't try to get rid of the ego, please.
No, and I think the exercises you've given as well, I think there's a lot of misdirection in personal development and healing where it's get rid of these things. And it's not about that. It's about full blown self love and acceptance, which funnily takes the heat out of these aspects of us taking control anyway.
Exactly. Self-love and acceptance and a lot of compassion, self-compassion.
Yes.
It's very easy to feel compassion for others, but I think first we gotta have self-compassion towards ourselves and towards our thoughts, even our dysregulation when we are anxious or when we are disconnected. Feel the compassion. And by
Mm.
feeling this compassion, you return to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Along your journey to going into your own business and your soul-led path, have you hit any moments where you wanted to give up and almost nearly did give up?
Yes, a month ago.
Yeah.
I was actually looking for work.
Yeah.
And I did two interviews, and I'm like, okay, I'll just have some break, have some time off, because
Mm.
I'm also doing a marathon. I'm doing an Everest marathon. So
Oh,
I'm just putting that on the side and putting my business on the side and find work. But then I had a beautiful synchronicity, which actually came from you.
oh, really?
I had a very rough night where I was like, couldn't sleep very well and thinking about the struggles. And I woke up the next day and I looked on Instagram and you posted something that spoke directly with me. And it was about entrepreneurship.
Oh, I know that one.
It took, like, spoke with me in a way direct with my heart. And that's what I needed to hear. And I
Mm.
say, this is a sign. And from that day, I was like, no, this is just the beginning.
Yeah. It's so common and it takes grit and courage to keep going. But for anyone who is doing this, you are going to want to give up. It's going to happen.
It happened for many of us.
And the key is just to keep. Do you feel this as well? Or do you resonate with this? Whenever you've hit these moments where you're like, you almost walk away, you're just like, oh, I can't. And you find a way to come back to center, something happens. Like something will land, something comes through. Do you get that?
Yes. Yes. And I think if you're leaving a corporate job to do your soul-led purpose, these are the signs, whether you believe in God or the universe, these are the signs the universe will send it to you. And it will send you beautiful synchronicities. But
Mm.
again, you have to be present to see. You
Yeah.
have to be on your center to be
Mm.
able to see because the universe will send you signs. You just need to observe. And that's what happened with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the signs.
Yeah, the universe will send you these signs. Just be present and don't doubt. It is sending to you
Mm.
any signs that it will resonate with you and will
Yeah.
speak with you directly to your heart. On the other hand, if you
Mm.
are in a career that's not meant for you, life will feel a struggle. You may have burnout. You may have issues with your bosses or with work colleagues because
Yeah.
it's not your purpose.
Yeah. I call them the universal slaps in the face. They get louder. If the more you don't listen, the louder they're going to slap you across the face until you don't even need to be a connected person to understand when you're getting signs that you're going the wrong way.
Exactly. And that's for everything, right? For
Yeah.
relationships,
Oh, yeah.
friendships.
They don't call it red
Uh,
flags for nothing.
exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to share the links to your channels and to your program in the captions below for anyone that is interested or drawn to work with Michelle. I think that is it. Thank you so much. That was lovely
Thank
to
you,
hear all of your
Victoria.
words.
Thank you. It was lovely being here.